having a biological body is such a pain in the neck and the back.
And the crack. Hello, welcome to So We're Watching That Right, a podcast where two lesbians bully each other for having the same taste in anime. I'm Becky, scientifically certified best girl.
And I'm Val, everyone's favorite harem protagonist.
Look, you know the drill at this point. We're starting with Journal with Witch again, because it's the show of all shows.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was a fucking doozy.
It sure fucking was.
Even by standards of this show. Like, we've had a couple of episodes recently that were kind of a bit diffuse. They had a lot of things going on. This is all one thing. And it is Asa reacting to having, at the end of the last episode, read the journal that her mum left for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she really goes into a spiral. And she starts skipping school, telling Emery that she's got a cold, but going out every morning as if she's going to school, so Makio doesn't suspect anything, and Makio's like crunching for a deadline, so she doesn't spot it at first. And when Makio hears about this, you know, so often this show is about Makio not having normal motherly responses. This time she absolutely has the normal motherly response.
Of having a panic attack?
And eventually she cracks and asks Kasamachi for help. And the way we are introduced to this idea is, like, they're coming out of her building and he says to her, see, it wasn't that hard to ask for help, was it? And she's like, no, actually, it was really hard. Shut up.
Mm-hmm. Fucking mood.
And they get the lawyer who's kind of supervising Asa's legal side of Asa's arrangements to drive them around town looking for Asa. And there's some really good chat between the three adults. Like, they have a really good group dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Makio learns that neither Kasamachi nor the lawyer ever skipped school. Kasamachi did once, and his dad was so mean to him about it that he never did it again. And he's like, it figures that Makio's school days were such that she's surprised that these two boys never skipped.
It was also really fun having a lawyer be like, your dad shouldn't have been that much of an asshole to you about it. And he's like, wait, sorry, I probably shouldn't criticize other people's family. And Kasamachi goes, no, fucking keep going.
Yeah. I mean, this works for our dynamic, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you just gotta remind people that their parents are shit.
I mean, that's the show. It's more complicated than that.
Yes, but also, like, specifically in this case, there's something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they find Asa outside a boba place, and she's just, like, sat there with the straw of her boba in her mouth, brooding and sulking. And this is a genius move by these three grown-ups. Instead of, like, going up to her and doing the worried parent thing, and, oh my god, are you okay, where have you been, or getting mad at her, what they do is they go and buy boba, and then they stand around her drinking boba and discussing the experience. And it's one part weaponized cringe. It's one part, like, is boba actually good? Which, I have never had boba, so I don't know, but the concept of a drink with tapioca balls in it just sounds incredibly wrong. I don't get it. And I wish that the boba wave hadn't, like, murdered the milkshake place wave in its cradle. I don't know if this happened in the US, but over here, like, there was starting to be, like, milkshake places for a little while, and then suddenly boba was everywhere and there are no milkshake places.
I wouldn't know, but I don't think that happened over here.
Give me milkshakes! Anyway, once they've found her, Asa and Makio have to kind of work out what's been going on, and, like, Asa keeps lashing out verbally at Makio, takes every opportunity. And you can tell it's not really like a voluntary or a deliberate thing. It is, she's hurting. And Makio understands that. And here, very clearly, Makio has grasped something about Asa that Asa has not understood about herself yet. And she's absolutely refusing to give Asa an easy way out. And at times it feels very cruel, and Asa certainly feels a degree of cruelty in it, because Makio refuses to be a parent. She said before, she's not Asa's parent. She refuses to act like a parent, and she's always treating Asa as an emotional grown-up, and giving Asa space to grow into that.
And in doing so is being a better parent
yeah.
than her history is given her.
Yes, like she's definitely a better parent than Asa's mom, because Asa's mom is very controlling and very kind of hands-on. I do think that there's a missing element that Asa needed, which is more of the like kind of warmth. Makio says several times she's a cold-hearted person. She's not good at showing warmth. But where the episode ends, and again, every episode of this show just sticks knives in you at some point. Asa, one of the things that Asa has lashed out at Makio with is along the lines of how can you write books about human emotion when you don't experience it yourself? And the show ends with Asa like lying awake she sleeps on the floor in Makio's kind of study room, and there's a stack of Makio's books, which, sidebar, have names like Dragon Tamer of Mount Terror. Like, she clearly writes a series called Dragon Tamer. I thought she was doing, like, Haruki Murakami literary novels, but no, she's writing fucking YA light novels.
It's really good.
Except that then Asa picks one of these books up and starts reading it, and it's this beautiful, elegiac, mournful sequence on a beach about this guy having lost his dragon and the grief of that. And that seems to finally get Asa to feel her grief. And, you know, she gets mad all over again at Makio for how dare she be good at writing grief like this when she's never experienced it. And a wild detail is Asa expressing the sentiment a couple of times that Makio has never lost anyone close to her. And, like, obviously Makio has lost her sister, and they weren't close, but also sister. And Makio has lost her father.
And she specifically goes, no, I haven't lost anyone. I don't feel that degree of grief over my father. And I hated my sister, so I wasn't going to feel that much about her. But I did have something happen to me in the past that I'm not going to talk about. That hit me with that level of grief.
So Asa kind of breaks down, and the crack in her kind of hardness, her isolation, is about her frustration with Makio not telling her comforting lies and not coddling her. You know, she's like, in this book, you produce a comforting lie to be about grief. Why won't you do that for me? But she really starts crying, and the VA did a fantastic job on the crying sounds. And Makio hears and comes through and hugs her, and it seems like a genuine kind of step forward has been taken. But oh my god, everything about this show hurts. Positive.
Yep, it's really, really good.
And sort of in a similar mood space. Shiboyugi. So we didn't talk about Shiboyugi last week, which means we've actually got 3 episodes backed up, 5 to 7. These are about Yuki's 30th game, and apparently the 30th game is a major wall for veteran players. Like, it's a lot of players who have been doing pretty well lose in game 30. Ahead of going into the game, Yuki is contacted by the father of one of the girls from one of her previous games, who wants to recruit her to be an inside agent to take down the games, and she refuses. And she wakes up in this game 30, and this is a big one. There are 50 players. It's in a bathhouse, so they're all basically in towels. Like, they wake up in shower stalls. There's a girl, Azuma, who is butch, and there's a really good discussion in one of these episodes where she talks about, like, having the butch blues. She says she does death games because, like, there isn't really a chance for a mask girl like her to be normal. But the big part of this game is that Mishiro's here, and it's the first time that Mishiro and Yuki have been in a game together since Yuki's 11th game when they met for the first time. And Mishiro has clearly been keeping at it specifically to have the chance to get her revenge on Yuki. And she sure does try.
There's a whole fight sequence or 2 in the bath.
Yeah, the fucking fight sequences are... Like, so this show has the thing where the girls don't bleed in the death game because they have this treatment that, like, stops them bleeding and makes it possible to reattach their limbs if they get torn off and stuff. So instead of bleeding, they just produce white fluff. So there's no blood in this when these girls are, like, stabbing and slicing each other with shards of broken glass and stuff. It's all this super washed out watercolor tones palette. but somehow it makes the combat that much more savage. And they're like trying to drown each other and stuff. Mishiro is suffering something that's making her cough up white fluff. Presumably she's coughing up blood. There's a whole thing where Mishiro has a pet assassin girl called Riko, who she's charged with the duty of killing Yuki. And Riko is tiny as well. She's like a elementary schooler kind of size. But she kicks the shit out of Yuki, and Yuki has to like trick her to death. Yuki's verdict on this one is not only was it a shit game, but I also played like shit. Like, she's giving herself a real hard time over how it went. She lost 3 fingers and they couldn't be recovered because they went down a drain.
Yep.
And apparently that, like, we've seen people get bits reattached that definitely met messy fates. But for some reason, these fingers getting washed away down the drain means they're gone for good. This show is mesmerizing, but I have no idea what it's doing. I don't get it.
I don't know that it has demonstrated that there is something to get yet.
It's possibly true. A show that definitely does have things to get. Another one we didn't talk about last time, Hana-kimi. So we're on episode 7 to 9 of this. Quick content warning for discussion of these episodes. The climactic event is an attempted sexual assault on Mizuki. I think it's handled fairly well, but it is coming up. Basically, in a classic manga contrivance, their dorm is being shut down for, like, redecorating or maintenance or something over the summer break, so they have to find somewhere else to stay. And what they end up doing is going to work at a beachside guest house that is run by the older sister of the school doctor.
Yep.
And Mizuki, Nakatsu, and Sano are working there, and then Kagurazaka shows up on holiday with his 2 younger sisters, one of whom is deeply in love with Sano, and the other is a, like, still kind of toddlerish age, or like preschooler, and a huge brat who might end up marrying Nakatsu one day.
Yeah, knowing how shoujo manga goes.
Like, Nakatsu actually does a really great job of like looking after her. It's just a beautiful strand of comedy that's in this sequence of episodes. Mizuki starts to have binder trouble because her boobs are getting bigger. And at one point she passes out because, hey, like, buy a proper binder, kids.
And not just a really tight denim vest, which is what is revealed to be what she's wearing.
Yes, eventually we find out it's not like a proper purpose-designed binder or anything. It is just a denim vest. Eventually the proprietress, the doctor's sister, Io, catches Mizuki changing and realizes that she's a girl and, like, for a moment tries to play it stern with her and say, hey, what are you thinking? You should not be doing this. What would your parents think? And then she says, like, I felt like I had to do the mom bit first, but actually I'm all here for this and I'm rooting for you. She's real good. I like Io a lot.
Yeah.
But the main plot of this trio of episodes, also working at the guest house, is a guy called Makita, who is older. Like, I think he's an adult. And he immediately clocks that Mizuki's a girl and gets really interested in her, antagonizes Sano about it, like very directly gets kind of provocative with Sano and, tries to get into a fight with him over Mizuki. And eventually he gets Mizuki alone in his car and comes onto her, and when she's not interested, climbs on top of her, pins her down, and Sano rescues her. Turns up, opens the car door, hauls Makita out of it, punches him out, and Mizuki runs off into the forest in a panic, in what felt to me like a pretty serious attempt to represent the kind of state of mind that surviving an assault attempt can put you in. And Sano goes after her, and they end up lost in the forest, and they spend the night in the forest. They take a fall. Actually, it kind of looks like they almost fall off a cliff into the sea, but there's a lower ledge that they end up on, kind of stuck on. And Mizuki hurts her ankle and gets feverish, and so Sano is caring for her. And for some reason, this includes, like, giving her water to drink by mouth to mouth.
Yep.
Which, that has to be a thing that they made up for the purposes of manga shenanigans, right? It can't be a thing that people really do?
In survival situations, I wouldn't put it past people. If it's easier to get the water to someone who's unconscious that way.
I guess so. It just, man. Anyway, Mizuki is feverish at this point, so she's not entirely sure it really happened.
And he has a decent enough poker face in the aftermath.
Yes.
That he doesn't give that away.
Yeah. Also, she still doesn't know that he knows she's a girl.
Yeah.
There is a scene in the middle of this where, like, Mizuki asks Sano, do you think I'm girly?
It's still so fucking stupid.
God, they've done a really good job with this show of making it feel like an older anime.
Yeah.
Making it kind of feel contemporary with when the manga came out. And I think that's, when we watched Karekano, we had that discussion about the fight that the manga author got into with Gainax, about the tone of it, and how the anime of Karekano doesn't deal with some of the more kind of edgy stuff that's in the manga. And this whole kind of Makita sexual assault arc felt a bit like that. Like, we have this ridiculous comedy farce manga story, and then in the middle of it is an unambiguous and fairly serious sexual assault scene. And again, it does kind of lock the show into that period.
Yeah.
I think.
It's not like series since then haven't covered the topic.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, the way it handles it feels very dated to me.
Yeah, there's something very kind of jagged about it in this. Like, it just suddenly it's doing this other kind of story. I feel like I remember this being a thing as a storytelling trend more generally. Like, you have a happy-go-lucky story, but because it's the 90s or the early noughties, you've got to have a moment where it turns dramatic. This is kind of what gives us the Lost.jpg meme.
Yep. Entirely true, now that I think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like an apologist for Lost, but also, like, that was a thing that the guy had literally just gone through in real life. So it's a bit more understandable there. But,
yeah, there was some processing going on, for sure.
Yeah.
And also, man did not have the tone down.
No. Anyway, I did have a segue for this one, and now I don't, because the discussion moved on. But Holy Grail of Eris, another one we didn't talk about last week, so episodes 5 to 7 of this. The scale of the conspiracy that they're unpicking in this is kind of absurd, and it's just absolutely not where I thought this show was going to go. But, like, there's this massive kind of drug cartel and conspiracy. At one point, they kidnap Kate as a way of getting leverage over Connie, and Kate absolutely doesn't crack, is absolutely stalwart. Connie goes to, like, acquiesce to the kidnappers' demands, and it's basically going to give herself up to them until they say they're going to kill Kate anyway. And then she has to be saved by her now fiancé, Randolph Ulster. They confront... God, so the whole Aisha thing happened in these 3 episodes. Aisha is a former lackey of Scarlet's who really wanted to be Scarlet, and since Scarlet's death has tried to turn herself into Scarlet. And what we learn is that she played a key role in getting Scarlet executed, in like the construction of the case that led to Scarlet's execution. And Aisha tries to kill herself out of guilt and shame for that, and Connie stops her, and Scarlet gets mad at Connie for stopping her, but Connie responds, "Death would be letting her off the hook, and I'm going to make sure that you get the revenge that you're after." It's very good. Like, this is real good, we support women's wrongs, toxic Yuri corruption arc shit. And so Connie's, like, family thing is that they're super sincere. And so Connie is learning how to be shifty. And one of her allies, Abigail O'Brien, who is the woman who rescued her from Deborah Darkian's, like, evil
tea
gossip
party
circle, tea party, cops thing. We still don't really understand what that was.
Yeah.
But Deborah Darkian is mad at Abigail O'Brien for that humiliation, among others, gets Abby arrested, and so Connie and co run a sting on the womanizing judge who's been assigned to the case, where they just stack a party full of sex workers and get him to solicit one of them.
It's really funny, conceptually and practically, that this is the plan.
Yeah. And it's just like, the tone of the show is so wholesome. Like, Connie is so sweet and lovely in her mannerisms and everything. And yet, what they're getting up to just gets shiftier and shiftier. It's so fun as a combination. Connie is definitely starting to feel kind of a way about being engaged to Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he keeps rescuing her from things, and like, when he does, he tends to end up hugging her, and that gets her very flustered now. At the end of this episode, a hot lady knight shows up, and she's a dingus. She gets lost a lot and also insists she has a perfect sense of direction, so she refuses to accept a map.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, a key MacGuffin for this plot is a key that Scarlett and Connie found hidden behind a painting in a chapel in, like, the second episode. And what we find out in episode 7 is that the key isn't even a functional key. It's an ornament with a code inscribed on it that is a map reference for where they need to go next. It's so goofy. I don't like that one. Really got me.
Yeah, it's a thing of beauty, really.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of things of beauty that really get Becky,
you just opening yourselves up to the hailstorm of arrows that this show is throwing.
This show is gonna kill me. It's in the clear moonlit dusk, episode 7. So it's festival time, and Kohaku had asked Yoi to go to the festival with him. And they've had this communication breakdown around him being, like, jealous and possessive of her without actually being willing to tell her he likes her. And so it's not clear that they're actually going to go to the festival. Each of them is thinking that they've blown it and the arrangement's going to fall apart. We get a lengthy flashback from Kohaku of his early dating experiences and the things that made him really cynical about girls.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is a catch and gold diggers keep catching him. And the point of that is to underscore that his experience with Yoi has been completely different. But it doesn't kind of explicitly say that, it just plays it out.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the previous episodes, Yoi had gone to Oji, this new guy at her workplace, who is basically the only boy she knows that isn't Kohaku or his cronies, because she wanted advice on whether she should wear yukata for the festival. But she didn't want to say that, so she told a story about her friend who'd been invited to the festival and was trying to decide whether to wear yukata.
Mm-hmm. The classic deflection.
The classic. And in this episode, Oji tries to follow up with Yoi about her friend because he is still angling to be the one who takes Yoi to the festival. And the way that he presses on her for how she reports how things are going with Kohaku, he thinks he's kind of pushing them apart. And what it ends up doing is making Yoi realize that she is in fact in love with Kohaku. And then she runs to a yukata rental place to get a yukata and everything. It does have to be said, this episode would have been a lot shorter if Kohaku had actually managed to hit send on a text to her that he'd meant to send.
Yeah, he's a real dumbass.
He's got the, like, neither of them is sure that the date to the festival is going to happen. And he types out a text saying, "Is our promise still on for tomorrow?" And doesn't send it.
But thinks he does. Meanwhile,
Yoi is stressing because there hasn't been a follow-up and they haven't made arrangements for where to meet or anything. And she sends him a bunch of messages, but he's not checking his phone because he's a dipshit. So there's this huge kind of disconnect, miscommunication, until finally at the festival, he's there with his bros and a pack of girls show up. And, like, his bros are using him as girl bait, and the girls are using his bros as a pathway to get to him.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them in particular is trying to monopolize him. And one of his bros is, like, asking him about, like, what fell through with Yoi. And he's like, "Well, I texted her and she didn't reply." And they're like, "Really?" And he gets his phone out and goes, "Oh, I didn't text her." And also, I've only got 2% battery left.
What a dumbass.
They end up finding each other at the festival. And this, again, is the point about, because this is a drama first and foremost, the confession is not a typical festival confession. And it's so much stronger for not really doing any of the tropes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they talk through the shit that's been bugging them about the relationship and how it's going. And, it's beautiful to look at. The art is stunning. They're beautiful people. The writing is beautiful. It's super on point throughout. And it ends happily. And I can't wait to see how they are the next day. Because they're going to be so normal about this.
Yeah, just like they have been the entire show.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of people who have been normal the entire show.
The thing about this show is that actually they are all pretty much normal.
I know, but also they're very much not.
So you and I are polar episodes polar episodes.
Yeah, polar episodes. These people are normal like our polycule is normal, which is to say,
More normal than normal. Anyway, I'm going to take my third attempt at saying the title of this show correctly.
Yes.
You and I Are Polar Opposites, episode 7.
That's the one.
Which opens with a scene of Yamada and Suzuki and Rihito and I guess they're some of Rihito's friends? I wasn't sure. They're not named characters.
I mean, they're from the old friend group in middle school.
But they're hanging out in the kiddie playground late at night. And Suzuki is on a hobby horse, very energetically rocking back and forth for more or less the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And
sorry, I have to quote this rando that Amy and Reach played in a group with in Warframe, which is my ADHD demands movement. Sometimes your ADHD demands movement. That's Suzuki.
Anyway, I just think that scene is an immaculate vibe. Like, high schoolers hanging out in the kiddie playground after dark is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Rihito is bemoaning high school. Like, he misses middle school and the dumbass dynamic that he and Yamada and Suzuki had together.
Mm-hmm.
And at school the next day, Yamada is telling Taira about this, and Taira is super bitter about it because he had a wretched time in middle school. And he's still kind of having a wretched time because he's wallowing so much in his own misery. And he's walking home from school alone, brooding about this, and he puts his earphones in and puts like loud guitar music on to kind of shut out the world. And then Suzuki catches up to him and appears to be talking to him, like yapping at him, and getting more and more animated because he's not responding because the guitar is drowning her out. And he pulls out his earphones and she's just mouthing. She's not actually saying anything.
She's just popping.
Every gag in this show is so good. And then, like, they're discussing stuff, and he's on his way to work, and Suzuki and Tani are like, oh, you know, maybe we'll follow you to work and hang out a bit. And he's like, why would you do that? And Suzuki tells him it's because he's fun to be around. And he tries so hard to keep up his, like, grumpiness.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually, like, the way his facial expression is drawn in that moment is so good.
Yeah.
Mouth a perfect V. But we are mostly still in the Yamada Nishi arc.
Mm-hmm.
We do get the much craved scene of them at the festival where they talk about how their attempts to like text each other have not gone well, and each of them tries to take responsibility and apologize. Nishi is fundamentally struggling with talking to boys makes her anxious, talking to people makes her anxious. She can't tell whether the way she feels around Yamada is anything besides her normal anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so she like goes on a spiral in front of him about how she's worried about sounding weird and she overthinks all her messages. And Yamada basically goes, well, okay, you should practice relaxing about that with me because I am too dumb to notice any of that little stuff that you're so worried about.
Quote, I can be your dummy.
The power of himbos.
Really just sums it up.
He's so good. Also really good is Honda, Nishi's friend. Because obviously Nishi goes to Honda for advice about this. Honda fully understands what's going on and is massively rooting for these two to get it together. She has a bunch of incredible lines. We get a reprise of her line about how boys and girls bleed exactly the same if you stab them. Which is true, but it's a real fucking wild thing to say, girl. Like, Nishi's venting about anxiety and Honda goes, oh, we're getting real today, I see. And Nishi talks about how she's worried about, you know, if she takes her, like, heart flutters around Yamada and stuff as specific to him and she's wrong, she'll be kind of taking advantage of his interest in her.
Mm-hmm.
And what if she feels the same way about another boy? And Honda's like, well, is there another boy? No. So you're clearly worrying about this for nothing. And she refers to this, like, hypothetical other boy as Schrodinger's cat boy.
Yup. Incredible line, honestly.
Still not recovered. It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, eventually Nishi ends up kind of being lassoed into the gang, in much the way that Tani was. And also probably is how Taira started hanging out with them, implicitly. But she's dragged into walking home with them. and Suzuki and Yamada are being goofs. And Nishi is laughing because that's what happens. And she's really embarrassed about laughing, even though now she's part of the group. Like, she's got that reflex.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Nishi kind of apologizes for laughing. It's like, I wish I didn't laugh so easily at things. I wish I could change this about myself. And Yamada goes, no, that's good. Why would you change that?
Yep. And this is where I drop my line about Yamada's type, which is he likes them like glow sticks. You crack them up and watch them light up.
You fucking dingus.
That hit me when I was like just about to fall asleep, and I was just like, I need to fucking remember that for the show tomorrow.
I love you so much. Anyway, during that conversation, so Suzuki and Yamada and Watanabe and the other girl, whose name I can never remember, who hangs out with them, the quiet one, have been playing badminton, or have been playing with badminton rackets and a shuttlecock, which at one point manages to land perfectly upright on Tanny's head, despite flying through a window to get there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you can tell this is a very gag-paced manga, but so they've been like running around, and Suzuki's like, oh man, I got so sweaty, and Yamada, who clearly never bothers about this stuff, is like, wait, do I smell? Am I sweaty? And the quiet girl, the cool girl, hands him a deodorant spray, and he starts spraying it on himself, and then goes, okay, what scent is this? And she goes, it's cool mint. And he turns into a popsicle. Just a really good prank. But Suzuki twigs broadly what's going on with Yamada and Nishi. So the next day, she starts grilling Tanny about Nishi, because they're in the library together. And Tanny gets into a tizzy because he thinks that Suzuki is grilling him about Nishi because she's worried that there's a thing between Tanny and Nishi because they hang out a lot together because of the library stuff. But this is Suzuki. She doesn't do subtext. There's no subtext there. She's grilling Tanny because she wants information about Nishi so she can figure out how to help Yamada and Nishi get together. Mm-hmm. Which Tanny realizes at the end and almost vomits from the stress relief. Poor boy. Anyway, a show that we didn't talk about last week, that we meant to talk about last week, but I just completely failed to put it in the show notes.
Yeah, and I forgot to notice it until afterwards when I was just like, I was going to use the image from this show for the thumbnail, but we didn't actually talk about it in this episode.
Yeah. This is You Can't Be in a Romcom with Your Childhood Friends. So 3 episodes of this, episodes 6 to 8. We're starting off with the beach trip that was set up 3 weeks ago. And Ayu is desperately trying to not get horny about his childhood friends, seeing them in bikinis at the beach. Like, he really is trying to channel Medaka Kuroiwa from Medaka Kuroiwa is Immune to My Charms. And he kind of has a wretched time at the beach, actually, because of this. Mm-hmm. And it also drags the mood down for the other girls a bit. But then he and Akari miss the bus home, and they start walking home. It's clear they're not going to get there. Akari's mum books them into a hotel, but she books them into a twin room, not individual rooms. Mm-hmm. And Akari, for that evening, basically stops being tsundere at all, and it creeps Ayu out so badly. And then, they get into bed, and instead of getting into her futon, Akari gets into his futon and snuggles up to him, and as she's falling asleep, tells him she likes him, and then wakes up the next day, fully back to tsundere mode. And the next time we see her, she is crouched on the, rooftop outside his window with a steel bat, plotting to erase his memory.
Yep.
He's having a conversation in the room with Runako. He's doing the telling a story about his friend who ended up in a hotel with the childhood friend that he kind of liked, and what should he do? We both thought Runako had rumbled that it was him and Akari, and no, she hadn't. She doesn't get that until right at the end of the scene when Akari, listening outside the window, realizes they're talking about her and falls and almost falls off the roof.
Yeah, Runako is the first character I've ever seen to actually fall for that fucking line.
Yeah.
About, oh, this is about my friend.
She's so stupid.
She's gonna be a doctor someday. She's so fucking dumb.
There's smarts and smarts.
Mm-hmm.
We catch our first glimpse of the fourth girl in a flashback, artfully positioned just out of sight. But the big event in this trio of episodes is that Shio and Akari actually talk about the fact that they are both in love with Ayu, and they agree that they are going to, directly compete for him. The summer festival is coming up. There's a tradition about kissing someone as the fireworks display ends. They both want to be the one who watches the fireworks alone with Ayu and get the kiss. And neither of them can bring themselves to communicate this to Ayu. So they're both at the festival with him. They're in yukata looking great. He looks like a schlub because he's doing the anime boy protagonist thing of looking like a schlub at the festival. Shout out to Wakana Gojo, who actually didn't do that at the festival. But their stress about trying to communicate with him fucks the vibe up, and he can tell the vibe is fucked. And eventually the conclusion he comes to is, oh, they don't really want to hang out with me, they want to hang out with each other. I'll get out the way.
Good attempt.
Yeah, like, he tried. This is not on him. But then they do tell him, look, you have to choose between us. And each of them gives him a place to meet them for the fireworks display.
Mm-hmm.
And in today's episode, he's just like stressing out at the festival because he can't believe this is happening and he can't believe it means what it actually means. And he then finds Akari like behind one of the stalls, holding a mask, holding an ugly festival mask, and thinking about how if she's going to kiss him at the climax of the fireworks display, then she has to kiss him, and trying to practice kissing with the mask and failing because she can't even manage that.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes upon her at that point, and she gets mad at him for discovering her, throws a bunch of rocks at him and runs off, and he gives chase and then gets tackled by people who think that he's been harassing her.
Yep.
Because this
boy
guy
cannot
can't
catch a break.
Meanwhile, so they both tell him to meet them at 8, and it's like 7:05. And we get Shio's perspective, where she's trying to kill the time. And, like, she can't do anything by herself to kill the time. She's getting really stressed. She starts helping people. She helps a lost kid find the parent. She helps an old lady who's having back trouble find somewhere to sit down. And then a woman goes into labour in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets into the hospital, like, full taxi ride all the way to the hospital. And then she realises she doesn't have money to get a taxi back. And she breaks the strap of her sandal, so she's stranded at the hospital. She calls Ayu to say, sorry, I can't make it. You should just watch the fireworks with Akari. Which, of course, leads to Ayu and Akari not watching the fireworks, but going looking for her. Because they clearly, actually, they both want to watch the fireworks with her as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a suggestion.
We both have a suggestion.
We extremely have a suggestion. I don't think it's going to happen. It should happen. Like, it's really clear in how Akari is written that she wants Shio around.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. So, it should be a polyend, but also there's the fourth girl. We get the fourth girl.
There might also be more girls, but they weren't going to show up in the show.
Yes, there might be more girls later in the source material. But the fourth girl is at the festival and sees the scene that gets made when Akari and Shio tell Ayu that he's got to choose between them. And then at the end of the episode, we see her like lying on the riverbank later that night going, that was Ayu, right? So presumably that particular bomb is about to go off next week. Look forward to me being completely fucking dead next episode.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Shut up. Right, I swear by all that is sacred and holy, these brief mentions are going to be brief.
Yeah.
Isekai Office Worker episode 7, we are dropping this show because the vibe is just shifting more and more towards focusing on Arash being possessive to the point of abusiveness.
Yeah.
In this, like, he buys a house so that he will have a place to keep Kondo, and all the stuff that is interesting about this show with the Isekai and so on, and with the stuff about Japanese work culture, is getting trampled in favour of more toxic yaoi. I might look up how the rest of it goes to see if it pulls out of the skid, but it's not great. In Roll Over and Die episode 7, we learn that Dane, the thug who's been like trying to get revenge on Flum, is the son of a fallen noble house, which explains a bunch of his shitty attitude. He and his guys corner Flum. They have a hostage. They tell Flum they will kill the hostage if she doesn't drink this super potent poison in front of them. She drinks it, coughs up a bunch of blood, and then just heals it away because she's got like the most powerful magic healing possible. And she gets up and starts killing them. And she's saved from the full fight by a girl called Ottilie Fokelpi,
Yep.
who shows up, who is like the second most powerful soldier in the army, and clearly a pretty devoted officer, deeply in love with her superior, and her magic is called genocide arts, and she just starts fucking taking out dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Flum adopts, so that the hostage was this blind amnesiac girl, a young girl, a kid. And Flum takes her in, and with Eterna and Milkit and Sarah, they kind of realise that this girl had probably been the victim of the weird experiments that the church is doing that are creating the spiral-faced people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun.
Indeed.
There was a cute girl in the hero's party, so I tried confessing to her. Episode 7. This was just goofs, this episode. Yoki is at the market and he sees a shop that is mostly selling cat ear headbands, but also has, like, a single, like, fake evil cape, fake evil helmet, fake evil sword. And Yoki buys these and comes up with a vigilante persona and does a bunch of adventuring guild jobs in his vigilante persona, just for the sake of Chuni. And one of the things he gets involved in is a bunch of kid thieves who are trying to steal Valentine's Day by summoning a giant chocolate golem to hoover up all the chocolate that people are giving to each other on Valentine's Day because they hate Valentine's Day. Yoki does eventually get chocolate from Cecilia, and that's great. But he spends the entire day pining first.
Yep. This is the fate of single boys in anime.
Yeah.
Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck. Tune into the Midnight Heart. We're back on Rika, the singer girl, and the fact that she doesn't sing original music anymore because she's too ashamed and afraid to do so. So Yamabuki says he's going to set her up to do a gig in front of an audience where she's only allowed to play originals. And she gets really stressed about this, but he's just getting her to play to the rest of the club to, like, pick a friendly audience first. She keeps hitting on him way harder than the other girls do. She's the forward one.
Yep.
But also running through this entire episode, like, there's still all of them showing ways in which they are like Apollo. And they have to be fucking with him. It has to be deliberate at this point.
Yeah, I really hope so.
They can't all this coincidentally just all share Apollo's traits.
Yeah, like I said when we were watching it, I fully expected Apollo is one of them, but she's been handing out hints about how to fuck with him the entire time. And I can't wait for that fucking reveal.
God, it's so much. In The Invisible Man and His Soon-to-Be Wife, episode 7, we get introduced to a family that's an Oni, a human woman, and their half-Oni kid. They're adorable. The kid ends up giving Tonome some information for a case and then trying to follow him to see what it's like to be a detective. They get caught and they're shut in a warehouse. The lights get turned off, so Tonome gets very nervous, and he calls Shizuka, and she just keeps talking to him so that he feels comfortable. Jirashi and the Dark Elf. Karma, right, yes. Come to rescue them, and we get a bizarrely high-budget fight scene of Jirashi just being a badass, which is great. And then at the end of the episode, Tonome and Shizuka are at the bar again, and they're talking about their relationship, and Tonome says he wants to date with the goal of marriage. It's weirdly kind of formal. It makes sense that that's how Tonome is. But there's something slightly oddly clinical about this idea of dating with the goal of marriage.
Yeah.
And specifically saying, this isn't a proposal, but I would like to get to the point where I'm going to propose.
Yeah, some folks still do that, but it feels very, like, you know, old-fashioned.
But they set the goal of, like, working towards cohabiting, which it's so cute. I can't wait for them to be married. It's going to be so cute.
Mood.
In Reborn as Dragon's Egg, episode 7, the dragon is now chief of the monkeys, having defeated their boss. And he spends a lot of time, like, training the monkeys to do stuff for him. And we were just yelling at the screen constantly, dude, you are making your wife sad! Because the little lizard gets jealous of all the time he's spending with the monkeys. And he keeps blowing her off in various different ways. And the episode ends with him sort of establishing communication with Miria, the human girl that's been a recurring character, because he saves her from some dire wolves. And he looks very different to last time she saw him, but she twigs that it must be the same creature, and she starts pantomiming, like, growling and roaring like he did at her the last time they met, which is very cute.
Yeah.
In The Villainess is Adored by the Prince of the Neighbouring Kingdom, episode 7, previous episode, Keith, the king of the forest fairies, had basically kidnapped Tiara because he feels that Aqua isn't being a good enough partner for her. In this, Aqua comes to the Forest Fairy's castle to rescue her, gets into a fight with Keith, they blow a hole in the wall, Tiara tries to get between them to get them to stop fighting, and she gets blown out of the hole in the wall by their magic, and Aqua jumps out to save her, and then prays to the King of the Sky Fairies to save him from the fall. And the King of the Sky Fairies is like, man, you've got to stop taking stupid risks like this, buddy. But he does save them. And it looks like the next episode might be the wedding.
Okay.
Which, like, that means they've gone through a year very, very quickly, but fine. shows we're not talking about this week, but that we are still watching. Technically, Gnosia didn't have a new episode this week. They're on an intermission before they do the epilogues. A Misanthrope teaches a class of demi-humans, and Does It Count If You Lose Your Virginity to an Android was still kind of waiting for the current arc to kind of wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
In older stuff, we finally kind of got back onto some of the older stuff that's been sitting fallow for a while, but we watched episodes 7 to 9 of Copcraft. So this show is built out of 70s and 80s cop movie and TV tropes. And I think they do a really good job most of the time of giving it the feel of those shows.
Mm-hmm.
But it was made in, 2019, I think?
Yep.
And so they keep talking about, or they keep mentioning, not talking about in any detail, mentioning things like blogs and crypto. And they feel so anachronistic. Every time it happens, it jars me so badly because this show feels so much like it's from a period before those words even existed.
Yeah, it's a little bizarre, but the light novels were being written in 2009 to 2013, I want to say.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those this would have been relevant at the time, shockingly.
Yeah, and it makes sense then that it's blog and crypto of any two net words.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a fairly serious attempt in episode 7 to take a look at sex work and what happens when a sex worker gets caught up in a political scandal. I wouldn't say it's entirely sympathetic because it does kind of portray the sex worker as really quite generously rich in a way that felt a little bit iffy to me. But mostly it's quite serious about how cheaply these women's lives are being held and how much the consequences of the scandal will be felt by the sex workers rather than by the politicians.
Mm-hmm.
But that is followed up with a two-parter where Tilana ends up body swapped with Kay's cat.
Yep.
And various typical body swap funny things happen, but we really do have to say that the show really takes great care to show us the cat in Tilana's body using the litter box in a way that really feels like a fetish of the author sneaking through. And I don't know what to do with that at all. The tone of this show can be so jarring.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just have to live with the fact that that's a thing that I've seen. Let's put this behind us. In season 2 of the Apothecary Diaries, episodes 16 to 18, we're really kind of starting to see the scale of the infiltration of the rear palace that's been going on. And we learn who Shisui is, which I now understand why Taro was so excited for us to learn about who Shisui was. There's a whole bunch of funky, people pretending to be other people in these episodes. But the major thing that happens is that Mao Mao basically gets kidnapped. And Jinchi and Lacan both go mad trying to get her back. We don't get to see much of Lacan's madness on this point, but we do find that his family has been served a massive fine for him, battering down a door of one of the palaces to head out to search for Mao Mao.
Mm-hmm.
It continues to just be so much fun to watch. I love the show. I love Mao Mao. It's great. I want the world for her.
She should not get her hands on the world.
She should get her hands on the world. Think what kind of medicine she could make with it.
Not anything helpful.
Speaking of not anything helpful...
I gave you that one, yeah.
You set me up beautifully for us to talk about Outbreak Company, episode 4. We're finally back on this one. Shinichi has set up this school to teach otaku culture to the people of the other world. And he chooses to begin the first lesson he teaches with Zetai Ryuiki, i.e. absolute territory, the gap between a girl's miniskirt and her stockings. This is a class of kids. There are very prominent labels on screen specifying that every dwarf is 10 years old.
They have a beard.
They have beards, but they're 10 years old.
They are labeled 10-year-old. And we know how you love your labels.
The labels give, they're so funny, but in this one they also give me so much pain because of what is happening around them.
Very fair.
Anyway, eventually Minori, who is Shinichi's, military minder, is hey, you've got to stop talking about this stuff to kids. Let me take over. And she starts explaining BL terms to them, and it's just as bad.
Yep.
They go back home after their first day, and they discover a puppy girl sketching their house. And she is definitely a spy. And, like, I can't really tell whether Shinichi has accepted the fact that she's a spy or not. But he's determined to keep her from getting executed because she's a puppy girl and he really wants to, like, cuddle her fluffy tail and her ears because he's a creep.
Listen, if you had a cat girlfriend, you would do the exact same thing.
But I wouldn't adopt a random woman I found in a bush just because she had cat ears.
What do you... I was gonna say, what the fuck did you think you did to me, bitch?
I didn't find you in a bush.
Oh, you might
You
as
don't
well
have cat ears.
No, I just have fluffy hair.
You do have fluffy hair. The fluffy hair is very good. Anyway, in order to secure Elbia's continued existence, they have to go and speak to Petralka, who is not impressed at Shinichi taking in another woman who definitely, in this case, has bigger boobs than her. Shinichi puts his foot in his mouth a bunch of times. Minori is busy imagining how Shinichi would relate to the prince, Petralka's shitty older brother, in a BL. For some reason, Minori is convinced that Shinichi would top, and what is this woman's imagination doing? This show is such a crime, and I want to fire it into the sun, but we're going to keep watching it because I started, so I'll finish.
And it's also by the same author as the Chika and Scrap Princess, which is why we started watching.
That's right, yeah. We got back to Scrap
Also,
Princess.
I have to say that Outbreak Company, as usual, the adaptation is not doing it any favors. In this case, it's a bigger one because they nixed an entire character who is, introduced as a cross-dresser, like, cosplayer, and eventually is just like, this motherfucker is an egg who really enjoys this, magical girl body that she gets handed by happenstance,
right?
And doesn't want to think about that. There's a whole lot of conversation about are you fucking sure you're not a girl? It's just like, no, I just like having a girl's body and dressing like a girl. I prefer to be in my girl body when I can. What are you talking about? I'm not a girl.
Does she also hit on Shinichi?
No. She ends up with Elbia.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to read these books.
I don't think you do.
I hate everything. Let's talk about Scrap Princess. So Scrap Princess, episode 21, we're getting towards the conclusion of this. There's an apocalyptic battle over the capital city between, the dragoons that have been genned up by the rebels and the peacekeepers in their battle forms. Chris and his squad rescue Pacifica from the jail just after the order has been given to execute her, and they don't execute her. They take her to reunite with her siblings and friends, and she is more excited to be reunited with her horse because that's what the show is. We are still making our way through Season 3 of Kimi ni Todoke. We've got one more hour-long episode to go of that. We will talk about that once we've finished it, because there's so much to get through. In Dougram, episode 16 to 18, last time out, the gang got cornered by this mercenary company, Garcia, in the desert. They escaped from that with some shenanigans and trickery. But as part of that, so one of the members of the gang is called Festo. He drives a motorbike with sidecar. And at one point in the fight where they're escaping from Garcia, Garcia's second kind of pops up over the side of the motorbike after the rest of the combat has died down, holding a grenade, and gets shot before he can throw the grenade, and the grenade falls into the sidecar of the bike. And I don't know, he was holding the grenade up as if he was going to throw it, but he hasn't pulled the pin, so it's just sitting in the bike. And nobody notices it's there. So there's just this unarmed grenade bouncing around in the sidecar. And then later in the episode, Festo is doing some joyriding to celebrate their escape. And the grenade bounces around in the sidecar such that the pin hooks on some fastening or something in there and comes out and blows up, and Festo is killed. It's weird. It's the first time that this show has done something goofy and comically absurd at all, really. And it's also the first time that a named friendly character has died.
Yeah, that's...
I truly don't know what happened there. But anyway, having escaped Garcia, they get to the town they were heading to, which is supposed to be where they're going to hand the Dougram over to the main part of the resistance, because they have factories there to make more Dougrams. But they get there and it turns out that the resistance has kind of fallen apart, and several of its leaders have given up and kind of accepted the deal that the Earth imperialists were offering. So we are back in bleak territory. And we'll see how that works out as the series continues. So Watching That Right is a project of Slimebug Productions. Intro and outro music is by me, graphics are by Val. You can find us on Blue Sky at slimebug.bsky.social, YouTube at youtube.com/slimebugproductions, Patreon at patreon.com/slimebugproductions. Download all episodes from Libsyn at slimebug.pro, and join our Discord via the link in the description. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may anime neither betray nor disappoint you.